All right, we've been telling you for over a year that former FBI Director James Comey and his decision not to recommend charges against Hillary Clinton over the email server was based solely on politics, not on evidence. Well, now there appears to be the proof we've been looking for. According to Senators Chuck Grassley and Lindsey Graham, well, the FBI director was drafting a letter that exonerated Hillary Clinton months before the Bureau even interviewed the former Secretary of State and many key witnesses. This is beyond disgusting, embarrassing, and beyond shameful. It's exactly why we have been telling you that there is a two-tier justice system, sadly, in America today, one for the Clintons and one for the rest of us. Tonight, you, the American people, you should be outraged because it looks like the fix was in from the get-go. So enough is enough. The country deserves to know what the truth is about exactly what James Comey was trying to do here. And it's time for the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. He must now reopen Hillary Clinton's email server case and investigate James Comey's role in letting her go free without a real investigation. Also, Congress, they must investigate all of this, and they've got to get to the truth. They have subpoena, and they have investigative powers. Now it's time for them to use it. Now, remember, before unilaterally announcing that the FBI wasn't recommending prosecuting Hillary Clinton, James Comey laid out in painstaking detail how Clinton had secret, top secret, classified, and special access program information on that email server. And we also found out later that, of course, up to 5 foreign intelligence agencies likely gained access to that server. Those are crimes. Now, here's Comey being questioned by Congressman Trey Gowdy and detailing all the times that Hillary lied during the server scandal. Pay attention.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails, either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on, I think, 3 of the documents.
Secretary Clinton said, I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
Secretary Clinton said all work-related emails were returned to the State Department. Was that true?
No, we found work-related emails, thousands, that were not returned.
That's the FBI director admitting that Clinton lied pretty much every step of the way. But somehow, without interviewing Clinton or other key witnesses, he was able to conclude that Clinton didn't break the law. Now, it doesn't make any sense, and it reeks of corruption and collusion. This also proves that President Trump was absolutely right to fire James Comey as the FBI director. This guy is clearly immoral, he doesn't care about the rule of law, and he only acted in his own self-best interest and, of course, with an agenda. Now, this exoneration letter is just the beginning of what are very highly questionable, unethical, and potentially criminal behavior from the former FBI director, James Comey. For starters, it looks like Comey perjured himself in front of Congress by saying that he made his decision about Clinton after talking to her. Sorry, timeline doesn't fit. Take a look at this.
Director, did you make the decision not to recommend criminal charges relating to classified information before or after Hillary Clinton was interviewed by the FBI on July the 2nd?
After. But if colleagues of ours believe I am lying about when I made this decision, please urge them to contact me privately so we can have a conversation about this. All I can do is tell you again, the decision was made after that because I didn't know what was going to happen in that interview. She maybe lied during the interview in a way we could prove.
So now it looks like James Comey lied to Congress, but his behavior is not surprising, given everything else that we have learned about the former FBI director. It appears he's a rogue agent. He doesn't care about enforcing the law, otherwise this never would have happened. And remember, Comey may have broken the law by drafting memos on the government computer after he met with Donald Trump and then removing those documents from the FBI. And then, of course, he also admitted before Congress that he had his best friend leak the contents of the memos to the New York Times in the hopes that it would bring about a special counsel, which, in fact, it did. And we can't forget about Comey testifying that former Obama Attorney General Loretta Lynch had pressured him into calling the Clinton investigation a matter in public, and he ended up listening and doing that. So the former FBI director is also a massive hypocrite. He claims to have detailed notes and memos about private conversations that he had with President Trump, but he didn't write a single word down about his conversations with Loretta Lynch. Here's what's important. If this country still cares about respecting the Constitution, the rule of law, equal application of the law, Then it's time to reopen the Clinton server case and investigate everything that Comey prematurely exonerated Hillary Clinton for. And Comey himself, he needs to be held accountable for these actions. But they are inexcusable, and that's a very important aspect to a constitutional republic. Now, also tonight, President Trump is overturning one of President Obama's massive abuses of power. Here's what the president said earlier today. Let's take a look.
I have a great heart for the folks we're talking about, a great love for them. And people think in terms of children, but they're really young adults. I have a love for these people, and hopefully now Congress will be able to help them and do it properly. And I can tell you, in speaking to members of Congress, they want to be able to do something and do it right. And really, we have no choice. We have to be able to do something. And I think it's going to work out very well. And long term, it's going to be the right solution.
Now the left, to destroy Trump establishment media, predictably they're in freak-out mode about the president's decision, but then again they freaked out over Melania's shoes. But this is because they obviously don't care about the Constitution, the rule of law. What they won't tell you is that DACA was in fact unconstitutional, that the president is right to let Congress decide on the issue of immigration laws in this country. That's how a system of checks and balances is supposed to work. The executive branch can't usurp power from the legislative branch. And you may remember how President Obama himself admitted this many, many times before ever signing this executive order on DACA. He admitted it was unconstitutional for him to change immigration laws all on his own. So let's listen to the constitutional scholar, former President Obama.
Sometimes when I talk to immigration advocates, they wish I could just bypass Congress and change the law myself. But that's not how democracy works.
The notion that I can just suspend deportations through executive order, that's just not the case.
Now, I know some people want me to bypass Congress and change the laws on my own. But that's not how our system works. That's not how our democracy functions. That's not how our Constitution is written.
Not how our Constitution is written, not how democracy works. Now, after saying even all of that, Obama did it anyway, which is why President Trump is 1,000% right, did the right thing this morning. He isn't going to trample over the rule of law and the Constitution. Well, now the ball is rightly in Congress's court. They want to change the law. They can go right ahead, and they'll be held accountable. That's their job. So now it's put up or shut up time. And that means Mitch McConnell, all his friends in the Senate, all the people in the House. Because this is exactly what they wanted. Watch this. If the president follows through on his threat for executive amnesty, what do you have in terms of tools at your disposal to stop him from doing that?
Well, first of all, it's unconstitutional. So we're already going through the court system on other unconstitutional executive orders that he has worked on, and we would add this to the pile.
The action he's proposed would ignore the law, would reject the voice of the voters, and would impose new unfairness on law-abiding immigrants, all without solving the problem. In fact, his action is more likely to make it even worse.
All right, now in addition to acting on DACA and immigration, and by the way, funding the wall, Congress has a litany of other problems to tackle, like keeping the government funded beyond the 30th of September, raising the debt ceiling, approving Hurricane Harvey aid, repealing and replacing Obamacare before the budget reconciliation option runs out at the end of the month. Funding President Trump's border wall, very important. Moving ahead on tax reform and tax cuts, that's important. So for all you members in Congress, you better get your act together. You have 14 weeks to actually start passing the things that you promised and the president's agenda, the things the American people voted for. 14 weeks to keep your promises. Do your job. By the way, Mitch McConnell, Mr. 18% approval rating in your state, are you watching? Better take down notes, pay attention, because the American people are watching. These are simple things. All right, let's take the tax code from 7 brackets to 3. Let's cut middle-class taxes. Let's slash the corporate tax rate to 15% so that they'll build factories and manufacturing centers in this country. Allow multinational corporations and companies to repatriate trillions parked overseas so they can hire the new workers and invest right here in the United States. And also building at least I would argue, 300 miles of the wall and fund the entire wall, and you better do it before the 2018 midterm elections, or the American people might just say goodbye to you. Energy independence, so important, the lifeblood of our economy. And yes, start working on a repeal and replacement of Obamacare, because so many Americans are suffering. So in other words, it's time for Congress to come together and get your job done for once, with a sense of urgency. And finally tonight, we have a very scary situation out of North Korea that puts the entire world in jeopardy tonight. Over the weekend, the rogue regime conducted yet its 6th nuclear test of a hydrogen bomb that they claim can fit on the end of a long-range missile that we've been seeing they've been test firing. Now, Pyongyang is also once again threatening America by saying they will send, quote, gift packages to the U.S. And according to South Korea's military, Kim Jong-un, he appears to be preparing for another ICBM test. Now, this comes after the rogue regime flew a missile right over Japan just last week. Now, meanwhile, the president, his administration, General Mattis, they continue to turn up the heat on North Korea. And the president announcing earlier today that Japan and South Korea will be able to buy a, quote, substantially increased amount of sophisticated U.S. military equipment. And the president also tweeted, quote, the United States is considering, in addition to other options, stopping all trade with any country doing business with North Korea. And last week, prior to the hydrogen bomb test, the U.S. and South Korea carried out a massive show of force by conducting a simulated live firebombing raid. Now, unfortunately, there are no good solutions, as I've been saying, to dealing with North Korea and this threat. If the United States and our allies carry out a preemptive strike, knocking out Kim Jong-un's nuclear sites, well, we don't know what that will lead to. A potential all-out war in the Korean Peninsula, literally putting millions of lives at risk. So what's clear is we cannot repeat the mistakes of the past, like this policy of appeasement that was carried out under Bill Clinton. Remember? It was Bill Clinton. It was back in the 1990s. I'll quote the New York Times to make all liberals happy. He cut a deal with Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, where the U.S. agreed to give North Korea billions of dollars in energy aid over the course of a decade, all in exchange for Pyongyang promising they're going to be good little government officials and despots, and they'll end their nuclear program. Now, according to the framework of that agreement, North Korea would allow inspectors to their nuclear sites, but it came with a very big catch. They would also be allowed to keep their nuclear fuel rods, which can be used, obviously, to make weapons for an unspecified number of years. Now, of course, Bill Clinton, he brushed all those fears aside, tried to bribe them into being nice, and even praised this ridiculous deal that brought us to where we are today, to the brink. Watch this.
This is a good deal for the United States. North Korea will freeze and then dismantle its nuclear program. South Korea and our other allies will be better protected. The entire world will be safer as we slow the spread of nuclear weapons. The United States and international inspectors will carefully monitor North Korea to make sure it keeps its commitments. Only as it does so will North Korea fully join the community of nations.
All right, so as we all later found out, Bill Clinton, he got played. He turned out to be completely wrong, and now the world is in great jeopardy. And by 1998, North Korea, they test-fired a long-range missile. In 2006, the rogue regime conducted their first nuclear test. And then, under the Obama administration, the North Korean threat accelerated while the former president drastically cut our strategic defense capabilities. This has now left President Trump facing a giant crisis with no good answers because, as we learned from Neville Chamberlain, the policies of appeasement and capitulation, it never works when you're dealing with despots and dictators. Now, President Clinton and Obama, they just kicked the can down the road, leaving it for someone else to deal with. And now here we are. We just can't, wait for North Korea to fully develop a nuclear arsenal that can hit major American cities. So we now must accelerate President Trump's plan and seriously bolster the THAAD and other anti-missile defense systems. We also need to fast-track the technology from President Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, so that unlike conventional missile defense systems, we have 30, 40 shots to shoot down any ICBM that North Korea is ending up firing. And in other words, we need a lot of options and a lot of opportunities, or else millions could die. In my opinion, the U.S. needs to take out any North Korean missile that is launched. Or if they put it on a pad and we don't know what's on that missile, well, we need to take that out as well. This is beyond serious. We need to let Kim Jong-un know that those types of aggressive actions will never be tolerated. All right, we've been telling you for over a year that former FBI Director James Comey and his decision not to recommend charges against Hillary Clinton over the email server was based solely on politics, not on evidence. Well, now there appears to be the proof we've been looking for. According to Senators Chuck Grassley and Lindsey Graham, well, the FBI director was drafting a letter that exonerated Hillary Clinton months before the Bureau even interviewed the former Secretary of State and many key witnesses in Hillary Clinton's email server case and investigate James Comey's role in letting her go free without a real investigation. Also, Congress, they must investigate all of this, and they've got to get to the truth. They have subpoena and they have investigative powers. Now it's time for them to use it. Now, remember, before unilaterally announcing that the FBI wasn't recommending prosecuting Hillary Clinton, James Comey laid out in painstaking detail how Clinton had secret, top secret, classified, and special access program information on that email server. And we also found out later that, of course, up to 5 foreign intelligence agencies likely gained access to that server. Those are crimes. Now, here's Comey being questioned by Congressman Trey Gowdy and detailing all the times that Hillary lied during the server scandal. Pay attention.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on, I think, 3 of the documents.
Secretary Clinton said, I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
Secretary Clinton said all work-related emails were returned to the State Department. Was that true?
No, we found work-related emails, thousands, that were not returned.
That's the FBI director admitting that Clinton lied pretty much every step of the way, but somehow, without interviewing Clinton or other key witnesses, this is beyond disgusting, embarrassing, and beyond shameful. It's exactly why we have been telling you that there is a 2-tier justice system, sadly, in America today, one for the Clintons and one for the rest of us. Tonight, you, the American people, you should be outraged because it looks like the fix was in from the get-go. So enough is enough. The country deserves to know what the truth is about exactly what James Comey was trying to do here. And it's time for the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, he must now reopen